The Heterosexual Life Partnership of Soarin and Braeburn by Draconian Soul. Braeburn trotted into the Appaloosa bar, smiling at every pony who greeted him on the way in. He made his way up to the bartender and sat on one of the stools. The bar was more lively than normal, mainly because the busy work week was done with. Many of the mares and colts gathered around, drinking salt water and having a grand old time. Braeburn sighed, wiping his forehead.
"I'll take a glass of ale, if you don't mind,"
he said.
"A love day, I assume,"
the bartender asked, cleaning one of the glasses.
"You don't normally ask for something that strong, Braeburn." "Nah, just taking a load off tonight,"
Braeburn said, putting his hoof on his chin.
"Not the easier job greeting new people to the town. One might think I have a harder job than the sheriff."
"Well, don't let him hear you say that. The old cuss pretty defensive about his job."
Braeburn chuckled.
"Yeah, he sure is."
"Well, give me a second and I will have your drink ready."
Braeburn relaxed in his seat, glad to be off his hoofs after a hard day's work. Glancing around, his eye instantly caught the sight of some fine-looking mares in a booth by the side of the saloon. One of them waved at him while the rest giggled, whispering to one another while taking quick glances at him.
"Here you go, Bob,"
the bartender said, laying down Braeburn's ale before the stallion.
"Don't drink it all at once, you hear?"
Braeburn, in his usual showmanship style, shut down all the booze in one go to impress the cute mares. Judging by the impressed oars, he imperatively did so. Wiping his muscle of foam, he winked slightly at the mares with a cocky grin. The bartender lowered his eye and continued wiping down his glasses, muttering under his breath,
"The young ones, always are morons."
After finishing up his mug, Braeburn set the glass down on the table and trotted towards the mares, greeting confidently. The mares continued to giggle and stare at him approaching the group. In range of them, he tipped his head and lowered his head.
"Well, howdy there, pretty ladies,"
he said.
"Mind if I give you all some company?"
The mare stared at him, smiling warmly.
"If you want, we don't mind."
Braeburn nodded and sat next to them, noticing that the mares were still giggling.
"Looks like you ladies are having a good time,"
he said, winking at them.
"Oh, are we ever?"
One of the mares smiled at him, stifling her laughter. The others followed suit, shedding smirks and all-knowing glances, gulping and feeling a cold bead of sweat travel down his neck. Braeburn attempted to play it cool by coughing into his hoof and saying,
"So, what are a group of fine-looking gals like you all doing here?" "Oh, just passing the time, enjoy ourselves,"
one of them replied.
"How about you, handsome? You doing well?"
Braeburn sighed and pushed the tip of his hat up.
"Well, I seen a better days, that's for sure. Ain't no point in complaining though. Just seeing your lovely mess brighten up my day plenty. In fact, you ladies could brighten up my nights as well. If any of you are interested."
"You sure your co-friend wouldn't mind?" one of the mares asked.
"Oh, nah, he'd be fine with it. It's not like we..."
Braeburn froze. His eyes began to twitch and his mouth became cracked.
"Co-friend?" "Yeah, that cute bull stallion you always hang around with. You two look so cute together. How long have you been couple for?" "Couple? We ain't no couple,"
Braeburn yelled, shaking his head furiously.
"Oh, I get it,"
one of the mares said.
"You are keeping it a secret, aren't you? What are you afraid of? What? Your family or friends would say if you came out of the closet?" "I'm not in the closet,"
Braeburn shouted.
"And especially not with the Solens of all ponies." "Oh, so you're dating someone else then?"
Another mare asked.
What? No, I'm not dating anyone.
Really? Because I know this sweet stallion at my workplace, and you are just his type. The mares share giggles and start to talk about how cute him and the other stallion would be together. Braeburn watched their conversation with the gaze of a dead man walking to the gallows. Not only had they shut down his advances, but apparently he was also gay now. That was just putting salt in the wound.
Bucket, that's it.
Braeburn clumsily lifted himself from the mess of impressment. He put on the mares and walked out of the bar without a backwards glance.
I am not about to let Soarin ruin all of my future chance of dating. There has to be a way to make everyone know for a fact we're not dating.
Glancing left and right, once outside, Braeburn trotted to his home, which he just so managed to share with Soarin.
We are just roommates, and that's it. Nothing else to it. And he needs to understand that.
Braeburn stopped and tapped his head with his front hoof. He felt as if a train has landed his skull over, and the situation he was in did not help with the pain either.
I should not have down that thing so fast.
Braeburn groaned. His vision was slightly hazy, and the world looked blurry and cloudy to him, but not enough for him to bypass his house, or more accurately,
the house.
With a heavy sigh, he trotted towards the hazel door and opened it.
Braeburn!
Before he could react, Braeburn was tackled and sent tumbling to the ground by a heavy mass. His head took even more damage, increasing the headache he already had. Opening his eyes, Braeburn was confronted with the way too close face of Soarin, whose eyes were already inches from his own.
How are you, buddy?
Braeburn groaned.
I was doing half decently until you pounced on me. I do it because I care.
Soarin replied, picking his friend up in a spine-bending hug.
Ain't that right, buddy?
Braeburn gently pushed Soarin off of him and walked inside the house. He shook his head in an attempt to ward off the growling migraine, but to little avail.
Well, yeah, you do it because you care. But why do you smell like L?
Soarin asked, flying over Braeburn's head and sweeping his hat off his head.
Are you drowning your problems in booze again? Don't you know about therapy? Which, actually, is much more expensive than booze. So good on you for being smart financially wise. Quite a comedian, aren't you?
Braeburn snatched the Stetson hat and adjusted it back on his head.
But you see, the problem I have, I can't drown with booze. Even if I wanted to. It is about your mother again.
Soarin asked.
And how she loved your sister more than you. And all that other stuff you write in your diary.
Braeburn's face went red, embarrassment and anger.
You read my journals? No, I read your diaries.
Soarin lowered his eyes.
Sheesh, Braeburn, don't accuse me of other stuff I never did. It's rude, you know.
Braeburn sighed and patted a hoof on his face.
Forget it. That's not even the issue.
He walked to the cabinet to grab himself a glass.
See, at the bar, I saw a few mares. Quite to catch too. So naturally, I tried to find me a partner. You mean a quick one-night stand, right?
Soarin collected him with a wink.
You call it a one-night stand? I call it an attempt at finding a nice man to hook up with.
Braeburn chuckled and walked towards the sink, pouring himself a little water. He held the glass over his mouth and downed it all in one cup, signing in satisfaction. His head still powdered though.
Really shouldn't have downed the second mark so fast. Dude, you're such a lightweight.
Soarin laughed. stretching out on the couch like a cat.
No wonder the mares were interested. You have probably passed out from the third glass. Not really that appealing to the chicks when a dude gets tipsy from just one sip. That wasn't why they weren't interested, idiot.
Braeburn snarled.
And I so wouldn't pass out after taking a third.
Braeburn cut himself off with a hiccup. Soarin continued to laugh.
Shut up! Alright? It's not the reason I struck out. Okay then. Want me to tell you the possible reasons why you struck out?
Soarin withdrew a scroll from seemingly nowhere, which reached the floor.
I've been making a list. We can begin on the body odor, or go right to the heart of the problem at dependency issues.
Braeburn pounded his head on the counter.
It's had nothing to do with me. Mostly, it's actually you. Hey, now I'm not responsible for the body odor. That's it, you and your fear of soap. As for the dependency issues, that's probably your mother as well.
Soarin tapped his chin and hummed under his breath. Actually, I think I see where you're getting at. It's pretty obvious. And I gotta say, I'm really sorry about it, dude. Braeburn's ear perched up and his eyes widened.
Really? Huh. I didn't think you actually would understand.
Yeah, I really should have seen it coming. Soarin sighed, one hoof held on his forehead, in an over-dramatic expression.
Or the mares want me, so they ignore you. I'm not surprised, of course. But I didn't think it affect your dating potential that much.
And there went Braeburn's sympathy. His head was throbbing and his embarrassment was high. He wasn't in the mood for Soarin praying, and the Pegasus comment pushed him over the edge.
Oh yeah? You're affecting my chance, alright? But it had nothing to do with it how you look. They think that you are my girlfriend. Half the town thinks that.
Soarin sniggered.
Dude, you're probably just overreacting. I am known in this town and aboard as a stone cold mad killer.
Soarin blinked.
Not rhetoric though. What I mean by that is that the mares fall all over me.
Soarin shook his head.
And not that rhetoric either. Though I guess it can mean that to a certain extent too. Never thought of it that way. I know what you mean.
Braeburn said.
It's just not what ponies are thinking. And I noticed every time we hang out, the others are either giggling or talking. I'm pretty sure it's about us.
It could be you they're giggling about, Soarin pointed out, hopping off the couch and slicking next to Braeburn, grabbing him in a headlock. Soarin lifted up Braeburn's head and put his on his head. You are kind of goof, you know.
Says the goof that suggested we will each other's clothing for a day.
Braeburn scoffed, grabbing at his head once more.
And would you stop doing that? It's starting to annoy me.
What? This? Soarin asked, on the other side of Braeburn with his head back in his hat.
Your head is just so comfy and warm. This is what I'm talking about. No pony is going to believe we are anything less than friends if we keep acting like this.
Braeburn walked towards the fridge and opened it, browsing around for something to eat.
I mean, doesn't what you just said sound that a bit gay to you? Wouldn't you thinking it sound gay? Make you gay since you took the connotations of my words as to be perceived gay only by your viewpoint. Which, I must say, sound a bit queer-like now.
Soarin frowned. Or would that be gay?
You know what? Just back it.
Braeburn continued to browse the refrigerator. Inside was a half pint of milk, an open container of yogurt, salad mix, and the crust of a pie. Braeburn was sure Soarin had left to go bad. However, there was something missing, something that agitated Braeburn further and helped his migraine grow.
You ate it, didn't you?
Ate what? Soarin asked, looking over Braeburn's shoulder uncomfortably close.
You know what I'm talking about?
Braeburn bucked Soarin off of him and grabbed.
I bought a light sandwich with tomatoes, asparagus, and sweet cheese with a spread of hummus on it. I even had an olive fork too with a toothpick. I could have sworn I saw you pick your teeth with the other day. That was supposed to be my special dinner. I specifically asked you not to bother it.
and you ate it anyways.
You know, knowing all those things that were in your sandwich are pretty gay.
Soarin pointed out.
You are gay.
Braeburn retorted, slamming the fridge shut with his back hoof.
You are the one comfortable with wearing tight uniforms all day when we are hanging out.
And who's the one who's noticed say ties?
Soarin asked, sticking his tongue out at Braeburn.
I do it for the mess. Dude, but if you get uncomfortable with staring all the time.
I'm being serious.
Braeburn interrupted, pointing a hoof in Soarin's face.
This affects you as much as it does me. If you want ponies to think you are gay, that's fine. But I don't want them to think we are... Ow! Ow!
Braeburn turned around and rubbed his temple.
You seem to be forgetting something, Braeburn.
Soarin lifted up one of his wings and brushes across Braeburn's muscle.
I have these babies, which means I can head up to Cradle whenever I want and scroll and try craft of chicks. You just have to find a solution to your emperor's crisis. Just forget it.
Braeburn gave up. Trying to explain anything to Soarin was the equivalent of trying to get a dog spayed without any issues. Practically impossible. He somberly opened the fridge again and grabbed the open container of yogurt. It was obviously Soarin's. He was the only one who ever left a half-eaten container of vanilla yogurt in the fridge. Braeburn sniffed it to make sure it hadn't spoiled, relieved when it turned out not to be the case.
Soarin, I have to get up early tomorrow. And I have the biggest headache right now. Do you mind getting some grocery before you go meet up with your wonderful crew? Mom, do I have to?
Soarin complained.
No!
Braeburn sniggered.
You could starve to death. Why go out and eat by myself until you do get the groceries?
Braeburn pushed his muscle into the yogurt cup, lapping up the rest of it.
By the way, how do you eat this stuff? It's just processed gooey sugar.
You know, caring about what you eat sounds pretty...
Soarin sniggered.
Gay. Whatever.
Braeburn responded, tossing the cup in Soarin's face.
Just do me that one favor and get the grocery tomorrow, will ya?
Braeburn stretched out his hooves and yawned loudly.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Braeburn walked towards the stairway, wobbling from side to side and barely keeping his balance.
Hey buddy, need any help to getting up the steps?
Soarin asked.
Wouldn't want the lightweight to fall over and hurt himself.
Braeburn ignored him and continued towards their room. He pushed open the door, smiling softly at the inviting king-size bed. It was apparent which side belonged to who. Papers, wrappers, and clothing led us all inside, making part of the room an eyesore. Even the bed itself was partly tacky. Soarin's side, which often transcended to Braeburn's side, was messy. His pillow wasn't fluff, his covers wasn't made up, and there was a noticeable sink in the bed. But what really stood out of the room were the photos in frames. Most of them featured both Soarin and Braeburn enjoying each other's company. The two had been pals for quite some time, knowing each other even before Soarin became a vulnerable. Each image showed a happy memory. The two reportedly grew together, two peas in the pod, and it was starting complications.
Why do I put up with this?
Braeburn set his hand on the arm of the bed and propped on his side, sighing heavily. His head was still throbbing, his eyes were heavy, and his body felt numb. All of his emotional backlash took its toll and tired him out more than he already was. Slowly, his eyes began to close and he drifted off to sleep. Or would have if he didn't feel the impact of a certain Pegasus jumping on the bed, forcing him to bounce a bit.
99, lightweight.
Soarin laughed, already steering more of Braeburn's side of the blankets for himself. Braeburn groaned and grabbed at the covers.
Yeah, you too. My annoying roommate.
Soarin snuggled up closer and stole more of Braeburn's space. Just like usual, with a little more room being stolen, Braeburn ended up being kicked off the floor, out of agitation and partial spite. Braeburn smacked Soarin on the head with the butt of his hoof and pushed him over. He was able to get back in the bed, but the stubborn Pegasus refused to scoot over.
You know, this could easily be solved if you just get two twin-side beds. You know?
Braeburn suggested. Soarin only replied with a snore along with the half-awake mutter of, "Baby, bye." Braeburn rolled his eyes.
Well, that was quick.
He didn't try to push Soarin over, as his attempts usually led to him being trapped under his arms. So, he just stayed with Soarin leaning on him with his wings play while he snored in his ear. Braeburn sighed, rubbed his head and slammed his head on the pillow.
Right now, the floor isn't looking like a bad place to be.